Hi everyone, it's Holly and the lighting is even worse today. So this is going to be my first weekly wrap up, and I have read 4 books since my December wrap up, so 4 books in the month of January so far. So let's get started. And I'm just going to do them in the order that I read them. The first book I read this month was Last Call by Alice Clayton. It's like a sneak peek to my book haul, which I think is also going to be up this week. I actually got this a little bit early, so I read it right away. This is more of like a novella. It's really short. It's just over 100 pages, and this kind of wraps up Caroline and Simon's story from Wallbanger and wraps up a bunch of other stuff in the whole Cocktail series. I gave this 4 stars. I definitely enjoyed it, and I loved being able to see all of our characters again, and I always love spending time with these characters, but like most novellas, it's kind of just missing something for me. The next book I read was Wicked Games. I don't know, I think her name is Jessica Clare, and I'm pretty sure it's a pen name. Somebody had mentioned this kind of in passing on the DBSA podcast, and I was like, oh, I'll check that out. And this was free, so didn't mind checking it out. It's the first book in a series, and this one takes place on like a Survivor type show. So every book is supposed to be a TV show or like a reality competition show. And this one is like Survivor, and that intrigued me. I watch Survivor, I watch reality competition shows, and so it's something I definitely have an interest in. It was so disappointing. I gave it 2 stars, and I really wanted to like it because there's like an Amazing Race one, and I love the Amazing Race, so I was like, oh, it'd be so much fun. I may try to read another one just to see, but it just felt super unrealistic, and I couldn't really connect to the main character. And the whole time I was reading it, like, they had sex all the time, and I think I've mentioned this before, I like romance, but I'm not a huge fan of romance that develops in difficult situations. And if you do it, you have to do it really well. And by that I mean this, like, Survivor is not a place to end, or like a Survivor type show is not the way to a happy relationship. You are in extreme circumstances. You are physically and emotionally beaten down by the situation you're in, which we also like barely saw any of that in the book. And that's what I was like, I showed up for that and was gonna stay for the romance, and it, like, that just didn't even really happen. I don't know, so it really bothered me. And then they were just like doing it all the time, and I was just like, you realize that there's cameras everywhere, and you're on an island, and Jay did make a point of having them like actually get to take a shower before they had sex the first time, but still, every time after that I was just like, no. So yeah, I was not a huge fan. Next I read Breaking the Rules by Katie McGarry, which is like a 1.5 in the series. It's a full-length story. It's like over 300 pages. I read it as an ebook. This follows Noah and Echo, and it takes place between the events of Pushing the Limits and Dare You 2. They go on like a road trip, and it takes place during that time. I did give it 4 stars. I did enjoy it because I like spending time with Noah and Echo. And then it seemed like there was really only like one continuous problem, and we just kept circling it and circling it and circling it. Like, the book, it could have probably been a novella and been fine. I mean, I think that's definitely how normal relationships are, is you have a fight and you know what you're really fighting about, or maybe like subconsciously you know what you're really fighting about, but you just keep nitpicking, and then eventually it becomes a big deal and like a big blowout. So I get that that's realistic, but to read it, it can kind of get repetitive and annoying. The last book I read was what's called The Wicked Wallflower by Maya Rodell, and I actually struggled with my rating for this for a while, but I finally settled on 3 stars, and this is the first book in her... This series is so complicated, but the historical portion of it is The Wallflowers, and this is the first one. I read the third one a few months ago and really enjoyed it, so I bought this and the second one. This is a historical romance. It kind of follows it follows three wallflowers who are best friends, and they're like in their fourth season out of finishing school, and nobody from their finishing school has ever stayed unmarried this long, and they have to go to like a ball in a few months, so they all kind of want to get married. And this one is about a girl, what's her name? Olivia? Emma? Oh, Olivia's her friend. It's about a girl named Emma, and she has this like boyfriend kind of figure who she's been like seeing, but in Regency words, for years, but he's never proposed. And then one night, in like an alcohol-induced bad decision, her and her friends write a letter announcing their engagement, and they're like, we could just send it to the newspaper and force his hand. And then someone's like, well, if you're gonna do that, do it with somebody important, like a duke. And so they write the letter. Oh, my battery's dying. So they write the letter, and then she's like, oh, forget it. But due to circumstances beyond her control, the letter gets mailed, and so there's an announcement in the newspaper that she's going to be marrying this duke who she's never met, and he kind of needs to look good for his situation in life. Like, he's kind of a playboy and people don't take him seriously, so they agree to have this faux engagement. It's like an engagement of convenience kind of a thing. And of course they fall in love and all those things. I thought it was an enjoyable read. I didn't find the romance as fully developed as I wanted it to be. I just wasn't 100% sure I believed that these two characters fell in love with each other. I believed that they liked each other a decent amount, but I wasn't, and were maybe on the road to love, but I didn't completely get behind that. There was points in the story or the book where I found myself kind of skimming paragraphs because I was just like, okay, let's just keep going. But I did find the characters fairly interesting, and I liked a lot of the side characters. His aunt, I believe is what she is like an old eccentric woman, because you can't have a historical romance without an old eccentric woman. And I usually love them, and she was no exception. I really, really enjoyed her character, and she was hilarious. I think it'd be funny to get like a novella or something. They spend a huge chunk of time together, like with her in this book. It'd be funny if Maya Rodell wrote a novella about that time from her perspective. Reading Forestborn by Shannon Hale. I read all of those other books in one day, and I was kind of having trouble. I was staying up late, like on work nights, and I just could not function like that, so I purposely picked a book I knew I would read slower. I love Shannon Hale's writing, and this is no exception. She writes beautifully, but her books don't make me like have to read them, and so I purposely picked this up to slow myself down, and I've been reading it for a few days now, and I'm only about 140 pages in, so my plan was successful. So I am reading Forestborn, and this will complete the books of Bayern for me, and it is on my 15 to read in 2015. So that will be good to get done as well. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments or want to talk about what you're reading or what you read in the past week or whenever or anything, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Bye!